The first thing I would say is relax. Relax and don't get discouraged.
Oh, that's a tough one. And the reality is, because the Bible goes as deep as you need, you're going to find things that look like contradictions.
Certain seeming contradictions that you might find in the scriptures, they will find their resolution if you study the book of the given book of the Bible as a whole.
I think you can expect a certain harmony within Scripture, and therefore look for an answer that harmonizes apparent contradictions in a way that is in harmony with what other passages of Scripture say. Be determined to study the text of Scripture more carefully, and as careful and thorough as possible. Sometimes there are contradictions or difficulties that we can't explain by first reading because we haven't really carefully looked at the text. We haven't carefully studied the text.
It says in one of the Old Testament texts that God killed Saul. And then in another text it says Saul fell on his own sword because nobody would kill him. And you say that's a contradiction in the Bible. At first glance, maybe it is. But I think it's very important. People can look at those kind of things and read themselves right out of faith. But when you come to it with an open heart, when you've learned to trust God, you learn to trust that He gave the Word the way it was for a reason. And as you go a little deeper, you say, what is that telling us? It's telling us that God cares so much that He takes responsibility sometimes for our mistakes. God didn't kill Saul, and yet He takes responsibility, in a sense, for Saul's death. And I think that you see that frequently through the Bible.
Be aware of the fact that you might not have all the answers, and be honest. Do not twist the facts in order to come up with a superficial answer that just might fit your opinion. But be honest to say, for this question, I do not have a good answer at the moment, but I'm determined to study it more thoroughly and more diligently. You should remember that in all likelihood, you are not the first person to encounter that difficulty or that contradiction. There might have been other thorough Bible students throughout history who have come across the same challenge and the same difficulties, and the likelihood is great that they might have come up with an answer that you don't know about yet.
Find a solid, sound commentaries that will help you to understand how the Bible-believing Christians interpreted those more difficult passages, or passages that cause controversy or debates or discussions, or are very hard to understand, puzzling passages, how they should be interpreted.
So I think whenever you see contradictions in the Bible, you can say on the one hand, well, that proves that the Bible's not from God. Or you can say, I don't understand what's going on here. There's something to learn. Let me put it on the shelf for a little bit and keep listening and keep growing and keep learning. And so when someone comes to a contradiction, I tend to just give those to God. Just say, hey, I don't understand this. When you're ready to share it, or when I'm ready, Jesus said in John 16:12, I have many things to tell you, but you can't handle them now. When I'm ready, I'd really like to know about this. But until then, I'll wait for your timing.